As someone who has personally struggled with addiction to nicotine, THC, energy drinks, and adult media content for a period of about 9 years, I want to talk to you guys today, now being about 6 years sober from these substances, about how long it took me to heal from weed addiction, how long my recovery from THC addiction has taken. If you wind up enjoying the content in today's video, be sure to check out the link in the video description or the pinned comment for a free 80-page workbook on quitting smoking weed. You can also learn more about our paid Addiction Mindset program resources in those places as well. Let's cover the basics first when it comes to quitting smoking weed. You have days 1 through 5, and this is where most people are going to experience the acute withdrawal symptoms from detoxing THC from your system. Days 1 through 5 are often the most challenging, but I like to remind people the withdrawal is nothing more than the addiction dying and you getting stronger. Withdrawal is a guarantee that you're winning. Now, fast forward to day 14. It's usually around day 14 where your body is starting to produce its own endocannabinoids again. If you're quitting nicotine, it's around day 14 where those excess nicotine receptors in your body, in your brain, are starting to return back to normal levels. So at day 14, most people will start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, a flicker of light. Things might start to feel a little better. Fast forward now to day 30. It's at day 30, for most people, your brain is going to start to produce its own dopamine again. Remember, when you're consuming nicotine, when you're consuming weed, alcohol, really any of these substances, your body has become dependent on those drugs as a source of dopamine. And if you've been abusing those substances like I did for a long period of time, eventually your body actually stops making its own dopamine. You go into a state of dopamine deficit. And it's around day 30 where this actually starts to balance out. So for most people, they will visibly see the light at the end of the tunnel around day 30. Now, day 90 is where we really encourage people to get to because it's at 90 days that your brain is starting to lay out new habits and new patterns and new routines. At day 90, most acute withdrawal symptoms from either weed or nicotine will have subsided, and most people by day 90 are feeling pretty good. But now, how long does it take for a full recovery from weed or, let's say, nicotine addiction? I'm going to argue that it takes a full year. Now, why I'm going to say a full year is because quitting a drug is not really about what you're quitting. Healing from weed addiction or nicotine addiction has very little to do with actually healing from the withdrawal symptoms, healing from the dopamine and serotonin imbalances. Healing from a substance use disorder is all about learning to live life without that drug, without that substance. And this is something that took me a very long time to understand because I would quit and I would say, why don't I feel better yet? Why don't I feel good yet? I still have withdrawals. I still have this. Life is still a struggle for me. And I would wind up relapsing. I would argue that it takes about a year to go through a full life cycle. And what I mean by that is in a year's time, you're going to focus on living. And while you are living without the drug, you're going to experience many different things. Birthday parties, the changing of the seasons, if you live in a place that has winter, spring, fall, summer. You're going to experience deaths. You're going to experience births. You're going to experience job promotions. You're going to experience job losses. You're going to experience good things and you're going to experience bad things. And I would argue that in about a year, maybe a year and a half's time, you will have gone through all of the things that a person is going to experience on your average year to year basis throughout the span of someone's life. This is where the healing occurs. Healing occurs from weed addiction or nicotine addiction or alcohol addiction as we start to live our life without the substance. And one of the saddest thing is, for a very long time, I hid from living my life. I was scared to live my life without weed, to live my life without nicotine. How am I going to go to work without nicotine and weed? How am I going to sleep at night without weed? I never smoked during the day due to my profession, but nicotine I would consume throughout the day. How am I going to have fun next time I'm at a wedding or at a birthday celebration without weed, without alcohol, without nicotine? It was living through these experiences and navigating these experiences in a sober state. That is when the healing occurred. This is arguably the most challenging part of addiction recovery. Quitting is a 1 second decision. You make the decision to quit and you're done. You say, I'm never going to pick up that substance again. You then go through the acute withdrawals, which for most people will subside within 30 days. Certainly by 90 days, most people are feeling much better. But the healing happens when you live your life, when you allow the experiences of life to happen to you in a sober state of mind. This is healing. This is recovery, right? It's like learning to walk up the stairs after breaking your leg, learning to walk on the beach after breaking your leg, learning to walk on a treadmill after breaking your leg. It's putting you into different circumstances, different scenarios, and navigating those scenarios now without a substance. This is where the healing occurs. And what I find in our one-on-one coaching or our group coaching is a lot of people are afraid to actually start living without the drug. I was once that way. I was once afraid. I was scared to do that. But what I found was the more I leaned into living, the more I leaned into these experiences, the more I learned how to navigate these things sober, I actually started to live and enjoy my life. Quitting a drug has very little to do with quitting. It has everything to do with living the life that you want to live. And once you start living, this is where the real healing will occur, which in my opinion happens over about a year to a year and a half's time. If you want more help, if you're ready to start living, either follow me right into the next video where I give you more tips on quitting, download the free 80-page PDF, or consider booking a one-on-one consult with myself, Dr. Frank, or joining our Addiction Mindset Recovery Coaching community, which is $4.97 a month. We go live once a week on Zoom. I'll see you guys in one of those various areas. Good luck.